just look at it. Oh, that's very official. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Stacy Dawn. I work at the Chamber of Commerce, and I've also got our volunteer coordinator for Tri-Clear Lake here with me, Mary Jo Verba. Mary Jo, you want to say hi? And then Carrie Tisdall.
Go ahead.
And Carrie Tisdall is jumping on here too. She is one of our 3 race directors. So Carrie Tisdall, Jake Capriva, and Trish Funderman are the race directors for Tri-Clear Lake. And then they have a slew of amazing committee members who help make this happen. Then obviously, you guys really are so important to the day of event. So we really appreciate you volunteering your time on Saturday morning or Friday night in order to help make this event possible. Just a little bit about the Tri before we jump into the volunteer training. We are expecting over 500 athletes this year. When we started the race in 2017, there were about 220 athletes. So we've really grown the race. We sold out a couple of months ago. So people are wanting to come to Clear Lake and race this event. And it just speaks to what a great job the Tri Committee has done in building this event. Every triathlete typically brings 2 people with them. 65% of our athletes are traveling here from greater than 90 miles away. We've got lots of athletes from Kansas City, Chicago, Omaha, Minneapolis, Des Moines. It's just really exciting because not only is it a great event from a sporting perspective, but it's also a great event from a tourism perspective for Clear Lake. And you guys are an important part in making that possible for us. So again, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and get a PowerPoint presentation going here for you guys. All right. So again, thanks for joining today. We couldn't do it without you. You guys are a huge part of the triathlon and just make it so much fun for the athletes because our volunteers are, pretty much our #1 athlete cheerleaders out there. So we appreciate it very, very much. As I mentioned, Carrie Tisdall, Jake Capriva, and Trish Funderman are our race directors. Carrie, do you want to introduce yourself since you are here?
Sure thing. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today. We do also, she mentioned Trish as a race director, but our Chamber of Commerce is absolutely fabulous. And Stacy being the head of that and also being a triathlete herself really helps with the support of our event. So Stacy's got a great presentation put together to go through here. Don't be afraid to ask questions as we go through it. But really, it's just important that you know who to contact, when to contact them, and we want to support you however we can. So yeah, go ahead, Stacy.
Yeah, and before I jump into the assignments, I'm actually going to go over the course a little bit because I think that is important for kind of getting your bearings, especially since we have changed our course this year. So in case you missed it, our entire event will start and finish in downtown Clear Lake. Last year, we had the start line out at State Park, and then they finished downtown in City Park. But this year, transition and everything will happen in City Park. So the athletes will start the race swimming out of City Beach. They'll do kind of a big square if they are sprint distance athletes, and they'll do a big L if they are Olympic distance athletes. And then once they finish swimming, you can't see it in this picture here, but the boat ramp is kind of down here at the bottom. They'll run along the sidewalk to the north-ish side of transition and head into transition. And then once they're in transition, they will, change. If they have a wetsuit, they'll take their wetsuit off, they'll get their bike shoes on, and then they will run out of transition this direction onto the bike course. I do have a blow up of kind of what the bike course looks like downtown because it is kind of a bit tricky at the beginning, but we have it well staffed with volunteers. So as athletes leave transition here by the boat ramp, they're going to turn right onto South Shore, and then they're going to turn right again on First Avenue South and do a quick loop by the beach before heading out along the route. From there, they will follow South Shore all the way along the side of the lake on South Shore, past the Girl Scout camp, and then out onto B35. They'll head out on B35 and about 1.5 miles down the road, they'll turn around, come back, stay on B35, hook back up with South Shore, and bike back downtown. If they are sprint distance athletes, they will do that entire loop one time. If they are Olympic distance athletes, they will do that entire loop 2 times for the race. The run from there, they will go back into transition, and that is when they will head out on the run course. So head back into transition, which is right here at City Beach. They will follow North Lakeview. They'll hook up with North Shore. They'll follow North Shore past the surf ballroom about 1.5 miles. It's a intersection, it's a Y intersection. There's a guy who has a little tiki bar out there. That is the turnaround point for the triathlon run course. Then they'll turn around and they will run back the exact same way they came. Instead of following North Lakeview, they will just stay on North Shore. If they are sprint distance, they'll peel off to the left, circle around City Park for the finish. If they are Olympic distance athletes, they will hang a right and they will follow that out and back course for a second time. And the second time when they come back, they will run around City Park and into the finish chute. So that is the course. I thought it would be good for you guys to get your bearings in terms of what the course looks like before we start talking about responsibilities of different types of volunteers. Anything to add, Carrie or Mary Jo? Okay. All right. So volunteering 101. Ultimately, our volunteers' first job is to keep our athletes safe. You're out there to make sure that they don't have a collision with a pedestrian, that they don't have a run-in with a vehicle. So we really need you to kind of be loud and proud and assertive when it comes to ensuring the safety of our athletes. So there's a section, I did forget to mention, there is a section of the course from Main Avenue all the way out to Apple Valley that is closed. So that road will be closed. We've had the signs up. It's closed from 7 to 11, just to ensure the safety of our athletes. But there are many people who do not believe road closed signs apply to them, which is why we have bike marshal volunteers at every intersection. So it's your job to keep those cars off of the road. If you happen to have an issue and someone thinks that the rules don't apply to them, we recommend every volunteer have a little piece of paper and a pen anyway, just in case there are any incidents while you are volunteering. So just be assertive, make sure cars don't pull out in front. If you happen to be volunteering on the bike course beyond Apple Valley, out on South Shore, and out into the country, those roads are still open, but it is your responsibility to make sure that no one pulls out in front of an athlete. So if a car pulls up to an intersection, you need to hold them off until there is a clear and safe crossing time for them to get out onto South Shore, onto B35. So that is ultimately the responsibility there. And then what's also great about having so many volunteers on the course is that it is your job to cheer on the athlete. So make it fun. Every volunteer has a cowbell inside of their volunteer bag. So we are giving you the tools to be nice and noisy. And then we all, if you have kids and want to bring them out and make signs and cheer and be loud, the athletes absolutely love that. Play music. I would love it if there was music along the whole route. So if everyone would just bring a boombox or a portable speaker, I know that would make me really happy. So again, volunteers can kind of make the race, and our feedback year after year is that our volunteers have been amazing. So make sure that you're loud. We do provide snacks for you if there's anything that you need beyond kind of the granola bars and water that we provide every volunteer. Just make sure you bring that stuff along with you so you can stay in your position for the duration of your assignment. All right, I already talked a little bit about race basics, swim, bike, run. We are doing packet pickup from 4 to 7 on Friday night at Skip's Kicks. So there's a new shoe store downtown Clear Lake. That's where athletes are going to be able to pick up their packets. And then on Saturday, transition will open at 5:30 in the morning, and those athletes that did not pick up their packets on Friday night will pick them up between 5:30 and 7:15 on Saturday morning. At 7:15, we shut transition down, and athletes have to be out of transition, which is the area where they set all of their things up so they can get ready for the race start. So at 7:30, we will do, Carrie, do I have this right? Are we doing a rolling race start still? Okay.
We are doing a rolling race start, but last year we put in actually like 1 to 3 athletes at a time, and it's going to be closer to 10 or 15. So,
Okay.
and I think we were surprised at how fast athletes went in the water even last year, how fast we got everybody in. So it's really not going to, we need to do it to know exactly how long how fast we can get people in the water, but I do expect it to go really fast. So we'll need to continue people moving from transition to race start.
Right. And so at 10 or at 7:30, once people are in the water, our first athlete will be out of the water probably around 7:45. They're going to swim that first little loop there real quick and they'll be out of the water and onto the sprint course. So first biker will probably be on the course around 7:45. And then from there, the first runner will likely be on the course around 8:15, and 8:45 is when we anticipate to see kind of our first racer across the finish line. And we should have all of our athletes off of the course by 11 o'clock in the morning. So we do have a 4-hour race course cutoff, and we also have a 1-hour swim course cutoff. So if a swimmer gets out there and they are not done with the swim within an hour, they will be pulled from the course. So lifeguards and water safety, most of our lifeguards, I feel, have done this before and have been in touch with Stephen Story. They had their own dedicated meeting on Monday night. But ultimately, the most important thing for our lifeguards to know is that their check-in is at 6:30 at City Beach. They'll check in with Stephen Story, and his number is there at the south end of the beach. So the far south end of the beach, there'll be a start arch, and that is where you'll meet and check in with Jake Capriva, and then from there, or not with Jake Capriva, with Stephen Story, and then from there you'll go to your designated spot. So Stephen should have communicated what those spots are and where you should be located along the course. There are boats and jet skis and kayaks, and if you don't happen to have one of those and you are a lifeguard, we have kayaks that we have rented from Movement Solutions for those lifeguards that need a flotation device. Transition volunteers. So transition, again, is the area where our athletes will set up their equipment. You can see our 3 transition leads there, Jody being kind of the first line of defense for our transition volunteers. At 5 a.m. is when those volunteers need to show up, and they're going to assist with body marking, and Jody will instruct you how to do that. Essentially, every athlete has a number. They'll have a wristband on their arm indicating that they are checked in and they are truly an athlete in the race. So that's your first verification for an athlete to enter transition, is that wristband. They also need to have their sticker on their bike. If they don't have their sticker on their bike and their wristband on their wrist, they are not allowed into transition. And we also body mark them typically before they go into transition. And that just means we write their race number on both of their arms, on both of the sides of their legs, and then their age at the end of 2021 is the age that you write along their calf on the back of their leg. Again, Jody and Rachel and Troy did this last year. So if you are a transition volunteer, they will instruct you on how things should be set up in transition. But again, once they're body marked and in transition, they'll show you how the bike should be set up, because the bikes are hooked up by their seat with their front tire down on the side of the rack. It's again, they'll show you how that works. Once you get there.
Stacy, sorry to interrupt. I was just going to say about that. There will be, if you're in transition, there will be an official in transition he'll be spending most of his time pre-race there. So don't worry about, we don't need you to like touch anyone's bike or anyone's things, or if you see something that you think might be done wrong or you're not sure, find either one of the leads or that USAT official. His name is Brian, and just ask him if it's right, or if you're not sure, or if someone has a question that you can't answer.
Thank you for adding that. Yes, they know how it should be set up, and if it's wrong, it's really up to the official to make that call if the bike is set up. So people will not be happy with you if you touch their multiple $1,000 bike. So just don't touch it. Get an official or a lead to kind of verify how things should be set up. That's the best way to go about it. If you happen to be on bike mount or dismount, this will be at the south side of transition, where the bikes will be leaving transition, there is a line in which the athletes cannot get on their bike until they're past that line, and they cannot bike beyond that. So when an athlete runs out of transition, they have to be running with their bike. They can't be on their bike. You can't bike out of transition. You have to run your bike to the mount and dismount line. And so essentially the job of the bike mount and dismount volunteers is to yell, here's the bike mount line, just be very, very vocal about get on your bike here. And then once athletes start coming back into transition, those bike mount and dismount volunteers will spread out a little bit and start telling athletes, you need to slow down, bike dismount coming, at that particular line. Anything else about bike mount and dismount, Carrie, that we need to share? All right. If you just signed up to be a transition area monitor, really all your responsibility is you're essentially security for all of the really expensive equipment that people have in transition. So people cannot, I already said it, can't mount their bike in transition. We already have our mount and dismount people yelling at people, but you're just monitoring both the entrances of the transition area and making sure if someone's trying to leave transition with equipment, that the number on their bike matches the number on their arm or the number on their race bib. So no one can take anything out of transition unless it is their stuff. So just for example, last year we had a mom and she's like, my son is racing. I want to take his bike out of transition. And, we had anyone could walk up and say they were a mom and we're going to take their kid's bike out of transition. It has to be the athlete. The athlete is the only one who can remove their things from transition. And it's verified through the number written on their arm matched up with the number on their bike. We just cannot let anybody take anything out that doesn't match up. It has to be the athlete. So that's kind of like the one, I guess, trick or one thing that might happen is someone might want to take something out of transition that's not theirs. And you can't allow it even if it's, their brother or mother or father or what have you. All right, bike course volunteers. So the bike volunteer leads are Dan Tyndall and Angela Myers. The bike course marshals, I talked a little bit about this already, but they're to help control traffic at the intersections and direct athletes at corners. So our course is very well marked. We have tons of signage that should lead the athletes easily through the course and where the turns are and that kind of thing. If you happen to be stationed at a corner, there should be a sign there. We encourage you to be loud about, turn ahead, that kind of thing. However, it is the athlete's responsibility to know the course. It is not the volunteer's responsibility to make sure the athlete follows the course. It is the athlete's responsibility to be familiar with the course, know where the turns are, and that sort of thing. But if you happen to be, again, stationed somewhere, it is nice to be helpful and tell them, which direction to turn. I guess the most important thing is having you guys check in with our bike volunteer leads. There are some critical intersections, and so we need to ensure that our volunteers are in place at those critical intersections before the race starts. So please check in with Dan and Angela between 7 and 7:30 at Clear Lake Boats or the Tourist Park parking lot at 1604 South Shore. When you get there, you will receive a stop sign. You guys are already getting these amazingly bright tie-dye visibility shirts, but you'll also get a visibility vest, and that's when we'll get you some water and snacks. But again, that first bike's probably going to hit the course at 7:45, so we want everyone positioned at 7:45 for that first biker to be on the course. So we do have a volunteer cyclist who will follow the last biker on the course. The Olympic distance athletes do have 2 laps, so that SAG cyclist is typically pretty good about telling you like, hey, I'm bringing up the rear. And so, you're obviously excused to leave once you see that last SAG bike cyclist who is wearing, the visibility gear. Is kind of hard to miss. But we invite you when you're done with your responsibilities, whether it's as a lifeguard or transition, bike course run, we invite you to come downtown to the Lakeview Room. We do have pizza coming, right? Is that right, Carrie? Is it pizza? So we do have food, free food for our volunteers, in addition just to watching the excitement that's happening at the finish line. Again, we just invite you downtown. All right, run course volunteers. Your run volunteer lead is Jen Fassbender. Again, very similar responsibility to the bike course. The run course is open, so there will be cars on the course. Again, just making sure that cars don't pull out in front of runners, and obviously runners don't move as fast as cyclists, so it makes it a little bit easier to, navigate the traffic on North Shore because of the speed at which runners are going compared to the speed at which bikes are going. Again, very important that you check in with our run volunteer lead. So between 7:30 and 7:45, just pop by the Surf Ballroom marquee right there on North Shore, 460 North Shore. And again, you'll receive your stop sign, visibility vest, water and snacks. And then we want all of our run course volunteers positioned by 8 o'clock, as our first athlete will likely hit the run course by 8:15. As I've mentioned, there are 2 different races. There's sprint course and Olympic distance. What's nice about the run is that our sprint athletes will be wearing a blue race bib, and our Olympic athletes will be wearing a green race bib. So you can decipher if you happen to be at the intersection that's downtown where the athletes head out for a second loop. That'll be really helpful because you can see, oh, it's a green race bib. So Olympic distance lap 2 to the left, finish line to the, or finish line to the left, lap 2 to the right. So that'll help with our volunteers out on the run course to be able to tell the difference between the 2 different races. All right, also when you're finished, I mentioned coming down for food, but you can also drop your visibility vests and stop signs. We do need all of that stuff back. So you can drop that back with us at the Lakeview room. Or if you don't happen to get downtown, you can just drop it off at the chamber sometime, the following week, but we do need all of that stuff returned. All right, finish line volunteers. There are lots of different times that our finish line volunteers are signed up to work. So just check in with Libby Hahn or Jennifer Larson at your designated time for assignment. And here's where I wish I would have had a picture, because they are going to be out bebopping around, but they're probably going to be 2 of the shortest people in the crew, or the committee members all have black shirts with neon yellow Tri-Clear Lake and then a neon yellow crew marking down the back. So Jen and Libby will be wearing a black shirt with some kind of neon yellow like this, like neon yellow Tri-Clear Lake marking, whether it's on their side of their chest or it's large on the front of their chest. And then they'll direct you as to what they need to do. So finish line volunteers will direct athletes through the chute. They will give them food, refreshments, most importantly, beer. They will be handing out the beer to the athletes who are old enough to receive it. And they will be, essentially helping the finish line athletes come through, whether it's taking their chips off. And again, Jen and Libby will give you your assignments once you get down there race morning. And then if you happen to be helping us with tear down, we anticipate the race course being pretty much clear by 11:30. And so we'll start to tear down, and that happens fast and furious. There'll be fencing to roll. There'll be gates to throw on a truck. So it is kind of heavy lifting work. If you happen to be one of our tear down volunteers, gloves might be a good idea. Definitely wear tennis shoes or some type of closed toe shoe versus flip flops, since those.
And if you're, sorry to interrupt again, Stace, if you're signed up to volunteer anywhere else and you stayed around to watch and you're able and willing and gracious enough to help us with that part, we have a lot of people, it doesn't take very long at all. And if there's beer left over, we will give you that.
If you're of age, if you're of
age.
Many hands make light work.
Right.
It went really fast last year, and the fact that everything is centralized in City Park this year is just going to aid in how fast we're going to be able to tear down versus tearing down 2 separate locations as we've done in the past. So your packets are ready. We have your shirts and your packets ready here at the chamber. If you haven't picked them up already, you can pick them up at the chamber, or you can pick them up the morning of the race when you check in with your leads. It has your volunteer shirt, location assignment, volunteer packet, and other important contact information. So this is probably the most important thing that is in your packet. This is your emergency contact card. So it has a list of all of the important contact information for the different leads, as well as our race directors. So your first line of, if you have a question, the first person that you'll call is essentially your volunteer lead. So if you're finish line, you'd call Jen or Libby. If you're run course, you'd call Jen Fassbender, Ashley Wise. So that information is there. If you call one of these individuals and they do not answer, your next line of defense is then to call one of the race directors, which is Carrie, Jake, or Trish. And again, all of that information is on there. I think it's important to talk about emergency situations, because obviously when people are moving along on a bike or, you know, getting out of cold water, that kind of thing, there's obviously, we need to be watching for health issues as well, as volunteers, because we can help assist them. We have tons of great volunteers, and the police will have several police department officers out. We'll have sheriff's deputies out. We have our ambulatory services, both from Clear Lake and Ventura, out on the course. And so if there happens to be a true emergency, a crash, someone needs immediate assistance, don't waste your time with calling your lead. Just call 911 and let's get someone there to help that person right away. Now, if someone biffs it on the bike and they scrape up their arm, you know, athletes are not supposed to accept outside assistance. But if someone falls, you know, obviously, you know, verbally checking on them, asking them if they want you to call someone, if you think that there is a situation, you know, it's up to them to decide whether or not they want to continue racing. If you think there's concern about them continuing on in the race, you cannot stop them, but you can surely call your lead and we'll deploy somebody to go and maybe check on them. So last year there was a lady who got really cold in the water and she was visibly shaking. And so obviously there was concern when she got on her bike and she was still shaking. So we sent a gator to just follow her to make sure that she was okay and didn't have any kind of health issues. So if you want to alert someone to a situation like that, definitely call your lead, and we can try and get a professional to follow them and to assist. Another situation would be if a biker has a flat tire. Again, they cannot accept outside assistance, but you can call your bike lead, and we do have bike support on the course. So Wayne's provides bike support on the course. If someone needs it, call your lead and they will deploy one of the guys from Wayne's to come and help that individual with a flat tire or something like that. Carrie, what else around emergency situations do we need to talk about?
I think that was really good. Last year and this was kind of our fault, that we, I guess, released the bike support before everyone was off of the bike course. And kind of, usually people use him ahead to make sure they're shifting properly and their tires are aired up properly and all that. But he is going to be available until the end of the race and on site to where he can leave as a SAG vehicle if there's any issues or bike trouble. So I guess knowing we have support for bike, we have emergency vehicles, and we're all going to be very attentive to our phone, obviously, that day. So yeah, the only other thing is, if an athlete wants to continue, we let them continue. And I think Stacy hit on it too, but we can't assist them personally. That's against the rules. So
yeah, our lead volunteers do have first aid kits. So if if a person does want some type of first aid, again, that is calling your lead volunteer, and they do have those kits if they need like their leg wrapped or something like that. All right, I talked about the contact card, that being something that you need to make sure that you have with you on race morning in case you have any questions. I guess at this time, we'll just open it up and let you guys ask any questions that you have of us. No questions? Someone has to have a question.
Okay, if there aren't questions, I will say this, and you've probably seen Stacy's post on Facebook too. If there's any friends or family that you think might be interested in helping, we do still have volunteer spots available. So particularly for the bike course, we'd love to have them. We do still have some shirts available too, I think. MJ, right? Yes. And it really is
awesome. Does anyone have
I do have to say, for if there are any of you that haven't volunteered before, I know I see a lot of familiar faces and I know that there's some of you that have, but it is really fun and a great way to see and get involved with a triathlon. I can't tell you how many times we have people volunteer that we lose as volunteers because they decide to be athletes. So that's a cool thing, you know, whether it be a team or as an individual. So it's a really great way to kind of check it out. And it's also even, you know, the first time Trish, one of our race directors, you know, she's directed events for 20 years at that time, but she'd never seen a triathlon. And I think it's safe to say she's hooked just on loving the event itself. And it's a great way to be involved. So we sincerely appreciate your help in doing this, because without you, we wouldn't be able to. So as cliche as that sounds, it's very true. And you're very appreciated.
and ring those cowbells?
Make some noise.
All right, well, unless anybody else has a question, I think we can go ahead and wrap. Feel free to email or call any of us. You should have Mary Jo's contact information. She's been doing a good job of communicating with you guys. Oh, I did forget to mention, it is nice to look through the athlete guide while we have USA Triathlon officials on the course who will actually be the officiants for the race itself. It is a good idea to take a peek at the athlete guide just to understand, you know, kind of what their understanding of the race is, what the rules are. There are some, you know, rules that they have to follow when they're out on the course. And so it's just a good idea to get familiar with the entire race, whether or not you're an athlete too. All right, like Carrie said, thank you, thank you, thank you. We so appreciate it, and look forward to seeing you on Friday and Saturday. Have a good one.